Now to our other major story of the day. Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke will testify on Capitol Hill tomorrow over Bank of America's acquisition of Merrill Lynch. Now, a leading lawmaker is already taking aim at him. He said this on CNBC today. Darrell Issa, the ranking member on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee on CNBC on Street Sign, says Bernanke and the central bank acted inappropriately by hiding concerns about the Merrill deal.
What we see is threats being made in private, cover-up of the concerns in order to get the deal done. That's exactly what we don't let the private sector do. We can't tolerate government officials using their power to do.
But we had a different opinion earlier on CNBC. While Issa may not have the highest opinion of Bernanke, billionaire investor Warren Buffett was with CNBC's Becky Quick earlier, and he said he thinks the Fed chairman has done a great job.
Do you think Ben Bernanke should be reappointed to a second term?
I don't see how you can do better. Yeah, no, he has taken decisive action at a time when really decisive action was needed, and extraordinary action.
Joining me now for more on all of this and today's Fed decision as well is Jan Hatzius, chief U.S. economist with Goldman Sachs, and Bob McTeer, distinguished fellow at the National Center for Policy Analysis, as well as former Dallas Federal Reserve president and a CNBC contributor. Good to have you on the program, gentlemen. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Mr. McTeer, let me kick this off with you. Obviously, a lot of back and forth about the chairman of the Fed. How do you see it? Did Bernanke do something wrong or inappropriate?
Well, I would like to associate myself with both Warren Buffett's views and with Jim Cramer's views, his rant in the previous program. You know, I sat beside Ben Bernanke for 3 years at the FOMC table, and even in private conversation and whispered conversation, he's a Boy Scout, if not a Girl Scout. I can't imagine him doing what they're accusing him of doing. But even so, we got to remember what the situation was like last December. You know, the whole financial system could have come apart if that deal had fallen through. So anything short of waterboarding, Mr. Lewis, I think was probably justified in the national interest.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. It seems like a lot of smoke and mirrors here to put some doubt around Ben Bernanke during a moment in time when he was actually trying to do the best job possible.
We don't treat our war heroes that way, and we shouldn't treat him that way either.
Well, what do you think's behind it then? I mean, is this a movement to get somebody else in there so that there is lots of doubt around Ben Bernanke's tenure?
I have a hard time believing it's part of a scheme to move him out and move somebody else in. I think it's just people maybe trying to get attention, trying to point fingers for sensational reasons. I don't really know.
Jan, let me turn this to you. What was your assessment or reaction to Mr. Issa's comments earlier about Bernanke, and then let's move on to what happened at that Fed meeting today.
Yeah, I wouldn't really want to speculate about that, but you know, I do agree that I think, you know, the Federal Reserve has done an extraordinary job over the last few months. And obviously, we're in very, very exceptional circumstances, but I think they deserve a lot of congratulations.
What do you think the market move was all about? Here we are looking at stocks down 53 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I'm wondering what you could point to as far as what moved this market. Was it the commentary coming out of the Federal Reserve? Is it an expectation about inflation versus deflation, or does it have to do with those Issa comments?
I think the statement was a little more hawkish than the previous one in a couple of ways. I actually don't think the fact that they didn't announce any further purchases was a surprise, but they did make the language on inflation a bit more neutral. They didn't talk about the risk of deflation really in the inflation paragraph. And they de-emphasized some of the special liquidity programs a little bit. There was a sentence in the prior statement that was missing in today's statement. So on the whole, these are not big changes, but on the whole, it's looking a little more hawkish, and I think that we're getting a bit of a market reaction to that.
Bob McTeer, I want to get your assessment of where we are in the economy as well, but let me first finish up here on this situation that apparently keeps developing because you've got commentary out of the Federal Reserve in terms of Ben Bernanke saying he did not pressure anybody in terms of that Merrill deal. We spoke with Ken Lewis, the chairman of Bank of America, a couple of months ago, really right after the meetings there, and asked him why he didn't walk away from the Merrill deal if, in fact, he was watching the losses accelerate. Listen to what he told us, and let me get your reaction to this.
But what about when you recognized that losses were spiraling or things had worsened, and you were looking at the possibility of a material change, adverse change, and that would have opened the door for you to walk? Did Bernanke pressure you not to walk?
Both the Federal Reserve and the Treasury and the other supervisory agencies felt like that would be a mistake, that it would cause problems for us and systemically for the economy. And they strongly advised us not to call the MAC. They concomitantly said, if in fact you do that, we will use some of the TARP money to fill that hole that Merrill Lynch has caused in their capital base. And so our board, in looking at all total consideration, decided that as a business judgment it was the best thing to do, again, because we're inextricably tied to the U.S. economy and we did not want to pose systemic risk to it.
So there you have it. I asked Ken Lewis directly, did Bernanke pressure you back in February? And he said, look, they advised us on what to do, but it didn't sound like there was pressure there. That's from Ken Lewis's mouth on February 6th. Mr. McTeer, the question is it appropriate to advise, not to walk?
I think it is appropriate. I think it was a very important issue. And no doubt they did pressure him. Pressure is not the issue. I think the cover-up is the issue. And also, while they pressured him, they made it right with TARP money that made them whole again, or at least made it possible for them to go through with the deal.
All right.
So I think they behaved very well.
They behaved very well. What about today's Fed meeting? Do you think what came out of that is appropriate in terms of the statement, in terms of where we are looking now at inflation versus deflation? He basically took deflation off the table, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't think they think, and I don't think inflation is a cleared present danger. And I don't even think it's inevitable down the road 2 or 3 years. The monetary expansion has not been as great as people seem to think it has. There hasn't been an expansion net in the Fed's balance sheet since last December. And so there's no runaway printing of money going on. And every week and month that passes, these percentage changes on a 3-month moving average basis come lower and lower. Consumer price index is over a percentage point below where it was this time last year.
So it sounds like perhaps we've seen that moment in time where we were falling off a cliff during the Merrill acquisition. We've passed that. Is it possible, Jan, that we could be bouncing along the bottom for some time? I mean, when would you expect this recession to reverse course?
So I think the technical recession is probably going to be over, at some point in the second half. My guess would be third quarter. We'll get a lift from the inventory cycle. We're getting a lift from the fiscal stimulus. I suspect it's going to be very slow going, though. So for the foreseeable future, I think, unfortunately, the unemployment rate is still going to be going up. And so one of the things that they talk about in the statement as holding down inflation, namely the enormous amount of slack that we have in the system, that's still going to be with us for quite some time. So I absolutely agree with Mr. McTeer.
All right, we will leave it there. Gentlemen, great to have you on the program. We so appreciate you discussing these important topics. We hope to see you very soon. Thanks, gentlemen.